The Russian pancake of light tanks is known as the LT-432. This light tank is incredibly fast, reaching a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour, and as well boasting a power-to-weight ratio of 30 with its 737 horsepower, making it an incredibly fast vehicle, but as well it's very low down, giving it one of the best camouflage values in Tier 8 while driving and after shot. Speaking of shooting, this tank carries very high single-shot damage at 280 with its 100mm cannon, making it very on par with the Russian medium tanks like the T-44 and the T-54 Mod 1. So it's fast, it's got a great gun, and as well, it's even got a very troll armor profile. Its upper plate at certain angles is an auto-ricochet to any shells, although I wouldn't be going around boasting the armor profile as the turret is incredibly weak, and while the tank is very low down, it's not the smallest of profiles. It's actually quite a large profile, so it can be quite easy to shoot on the move and penetrate with your ammunition. Thankfully, it's very hard to hit with high explosive ammo, so overall, the LT-432 is fast, high alpha, and an incredibly fun vehicle to play, and that's why we're going to be doing a full in-depth review on today's video of this Russian pancake. The Light Tank 432 is one weird-looking Russian pancake. In today's video, we are going to be doing a full in-depth review of this Russian vehicle, telling you everything you need to know about it from the statistics, a dab into the armor profile, and as well 2 expert replays to showcase just what you can do in the correct situations and hands driving this tank. So first of all, let's get into the statistics, talking about what's good on paper and what is bad, how that translates into the actual battlefield. It carries a 3.4 second aiming time and a base dispersion of 0.344. Now on paper, those two values may not seem very good at all. I mean, that dispersion, oof, it's not great. Even after it was buffed, it's still not amazing dispersion. But what I will say is the on-movement dispersion of the LT-432 is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the most accurate Tier 8 vehicles on the move in the game. And what that means is that you can very easily drive on the move and shoot vehicles without actually blooming on your gun's aiming circle. And as well, that means when you're actually aiming at somebody and you've stopped your tank, you're almost always fully aimed in. You're going to notice that when I do show you guys my replays, this tank is way more accurate than it seems on paper. So take the dispersion and aiming time loosely, as it is quite actually a very accurate tank. When we make our way over to the damage per minute, it's definitely not amazing at 2017, but it's also not terrible when you compare it to other Tier 8 light tanks like the T-54 lightweights. It's only about 100 less, so it can still work very easily with 2,000 damage per minute, and it's plenty to get you very good games out there on the battlefield. When we come over to the average penetration for this 100mm armament, it's not great on the standard. It's 184. Now don't compare this to a medium tank, because it's not a medium. Mediums have much more standard pen than lights. A good example is the T-54 lightweight, the AMX 1390. Both of those vehicles have about the same penetration on the standard. But what I will say is that the premium pen on this tank is very, very nice. At 247, and judging that it is using AP ammunition as a premium round, it's just like the Hori, where it has that ridiculous amount of shell normalization, actually making that 247 more realistically around 260, 70 millimeters of penetration. So actually very good, and it cuts through even like a mil 1's hull down. So I don't worry at all about the penetration when I'm in a battle with the LT-432. The average damage per shot, because this is a 100mm, is very nice. It's 280 on the standard, 240 on the premium, and a whopping 350 on the high explosive. That means that you can easily outtrade a lot of Tier 8 mediums, vehicles like the Type 59 Patton, the T-95E2. Even if we were to raise the caliber up to Russian 100mm type guns like the Type 59, T-54 Mod 1, or T-44 that deal 280 damage per shot, this gun deals 280 damage per shot, which means that a Russian Tier 8 light can go toe-to-toe with medium tanks, very high damage per shot medium tanks. That is one thing that makes the LT-432 seem very, very flexible. What doesn't make this seem flexible is the gun depression, only sitting at 5 degrees. Yeah, that's not amazing. You're going to have to be very cautious about where you are pre-positioning your vehicle. Whenever I drive a tank like this, I obviously know a lot of positions that it can work and that it can't work. So when I do put myself in a position that this vehicle vehicle can't work, I usually just reposition. Obviously, when we go over to the mobility, it's a very fast tank, going 70 kilometers per hour forward and 30 in reverse. I mean, that's a ridiculously fast reverse speed. So you can easily get in and out of position if you do find yourself in a spot that is very hard to work with that gun depression. But because it's actually so low down, I don't find it being that much of an issue. Obviously, the lower down you are to the ground, the less gun depression you actually need because you're already quite low down. So that's one nice thing about this tank is you don't always feel like you need the gun depression, but it obviously would be nice if you did have an extra 2 or even 1 degree. But yeah, mobility-wise, this tank is very fast. It has an effective power-to-weight ratio of 30. In Blitz Garage, it says 27.3, but obviously Blitz's Garage doesn't take into account terrain resistances. So yeah, it's actually very quick, but the average speed, as you can see, is upwards of 43 kilometers per hour. So it's a very fast mobile tank. Its halt reverse speed is at 70 degrees a second, and when you add that in with the turret traverse at 60 degrees a second, I mean, this is not a vehicle you are ever going to flank. It will always have its turret situated on you very quickly as well, may I add. So the LT-432, it's a fast, lightweight Russian vehicle. It's got a big alpha, and it can get out some pretty nice games because of that. It's super accurate on the move. I really like the playstyle that this vehicle does fit with. The LT-432 is obviously a light tank, and judging that it only weighs in at 27 tons means that it's very hard to obviously fully armor this vehicle on every single aspect. And that is definitely the case for the front, only being at around 147 millimeters thick on that upper plate, and about 66 and 81 on the lower. Oof, that is really, really not great armor. Even the turret on this vehicle is only sitting at around 111 millimeters thick. The sides of this vehicle are sitting at around 47, and the rear are 35. So when it comes to the armor profile of the LT-432, you're not going to be getting many bounces unless you do actually use the 5 degrees of gun depression. While that gun depression is not amazing, what is amazing is the upper plate angle. Because the upper plate, as you can see, is such a steep angle, if you're using the full gun depression this vehicle has, the upper plate becomes an auto ricochet to any AP and APCR ammunition, which is amazing. Even with calibrated shells, this T-34-2 has no chance of cutting through the vehicle. However, what I will say is that if you get a vehicle that shoots heat, let's say like the T-34-3, you can penetrate the upper plate because obviously heat shells do not give a single F about angles. Unless it's an 85 or more degree angle, heat can penetrate straight through it. So against vehicles that shoot heat as premium ammo, be very careful. But even very high caliber guns, let's say like a WZ-121 at tier 10, cannot penetrate the upper plate of this vehicle with its 250 millimeters of pen. So it is very troll on that frontal armor. But apart from that, really, you're not going to be getting bounces anywhere on the LT-432, so be very careful when it comes to the armor profile of this tank. These 2 battles you're going to see me play in the LT-432 are the only 2 battles I've played in the vehicle today, and it showcases just how comfortable, at least I feel, driving this vehicle, and how easily I can get out some very nice damaging games. Now obviously, not every player is the same, and this is a very weird and peculiar playstyle compared to the other tier 8 vehicles. So it definitely takes a bit of brain power to understand how to play this tank, where to position it, but Rockfield's a pretty simple map. I almost always push my tank right into this bush here, and what that means is that I can spot vehicles like that Helsing, like the Panther 2. So there you go, nice shot straight into that Helsing for 286 damage. One thing I forgot to mention about the LT-432 during the statistical analysis is the camouflage. This vehicle has the best camouflage in tier 8. There's not a single vehicle that is better on movement and sitting still camo. So that is absolutely fantastic. And as well, absolutely fantastic that I've completely ravaged that Helsing's hit point pool because he was aiming at an angled upper plate as we went over. It auto-ricocheted, and we bounced as well. We dealt 862 hit points to that poor guy. We have the SU-152 here. Nice snap right into that vehicle. As I went over earlier, the on-movement dispersion of this vehicle is absolutely fantastic. So even when I'm driving on the move, you can see that the gun is almost always aimed in. Sure, it's not the most accurate of guns, but you don't need to be that accurate when you're 100 meters away from your enemy opponent. So we've already managed to dump out 1,764 hit points of damage, and 1 more shell into the Samil, and that's already a pretty solid tier 8 battle. There you go, 2,000 damage up on the chopping block. Now there are some deadly vehicles. We got the M4FL10 above me. I know that the SU-152 is there, so I obviously don't want to bleed all of my hit points. I want to go towards this SU. Here he is. He's trying to shoot at my teammate, so boom, nice shell into his lower plate for 270. And now I'm trying to think, okay, how do I want to poke this guy? Because I obviously don't have much armor. Maybe I can try and side scrape it, but yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. While he may not be able to overmatch my 47 millimeters of armor, I just over-angled it a bit too much, and I learned my lesson for it. So I will definitely say, do not try and poke SU-152s in this vehicle. Probably not the best idea. Now, I knew by the time I poked that guy that he would have another shell loaded, or at least very close to it. I didn't want to take that risk, so I would rather conserve my hit points and push over to here, maybe get some shells into the Panther 2. There you go, nice tap for 285. Now we're sitting at 2,800 damage dealt. But, oh wait, that's right, I have high explosive ammunition, and what that means is, 375 into the rear of that Panther 2. That is just where the HE ammo feels absolutely amazing in this vehicle. So here we go. Nice shot into the Panther 2 again. Nice high roll for 300 there. And with that, there's only one vehicle left on the enemy team, being the enemy E-25. So you can see I made one mistake. I poked an SU-152. Realistically, I didn't have to do that, but I did. I wanted to get some damage out. So this game, you can very easily see that the LT gets out some pretty quick and easy damage. That was a 3,800 damage game in a battle that was under 3 minutes. So yeah, it's very easy to get out some super quick damage. On the second battle, we find ourselves stuck on a Yukon. We have a pretty deadly enemy lineup. We got a Conqueror, E50, WZ-111-14. All of those tanks hit quite hard, and obviously I don't even have a lot of penetration to cut through vehicles like the WZ-111 or the E50. So I'm really hoping that I can use my mobility and my camouflage in this game. Now I'm going to push straight into this bush that overlooks base D. If you don't detect anybody in this position within, I would say, the first 20 seconds of the battle, it gives you a pretty clear indicator that the enemy team is not going this way. So I'm just waiting patiently. Nobody's spotted yet. I know that they're capturing base C, and at this point I'm like, okay, you know what? If somebody's here, then I'm going to bleed for it, but I'm going to push because I need to get into position, hopefully spotting somebody at C. Nope, nobody's at C. All right. Well, I'm going to continue pushing through, then come up behind the enemy team, and oh boy, what are we going to run into? Yep, an AT-15. I'm going to load in a premium shell because I got that quick aiming time. We get a nice snap into his vehicle, and I'm trying to think, okay, so how do I want to deal with this AT-15? This guy is obviously not a threat. I'm in a light tank. He's in a turretless tank destroyer out in the open. The thing that I was looking for is, okay, how many tanks are off to the side? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make myself the center of attention here. Get behind this guy and absolutely ruin his days. Here we go. Go, go, go. I'm obviously trying to juke him, make sure that he doesn't know which way I'm going, and, yeah, this poor guy is now just kind of done for. I was really hoping that the enemy team would not turn back to try and shoot me, and it looks like they aren't. You'll also notice, because I've got some pretty good HE penetration, because I'm running calibrated shells, I'm able to cut through this AT-15 with high explosive ammunition on the rear. There's another HE pen. Oh, this poor guy. This is where being a Russian light tank is great. I mean, you could do this in every other light tank as well, but just that HE Alpha, oh my god, is that amazing. So my T-50-41 followed me here, and as well my Emil-1. The bad news about that is they kind of left the team, which is not great. This Emil-1 really wanted to shoot me, but because my upper plate was on an over angle, as we've been over before, he auto-ricocheted off of it. Now, at this scenario here, I watched the WZ-111 shoot, and I've known that the Emil-1 has completely clipped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push past the WZ, push past the Emil, and now I'm going to start shooting this guy in the side of his vehicle, causing a bit of a crossfire. I basically pincered the enemy Emil-1. He's obviously like, what the heck do I do here? I was trying to think, okay, well, let's get another shell into his lower plate, obviously making advantage of that long reload he does have. And now that I got the K91 over here as well, yeah, the Emil-1 is basically done for. So I was aiming a shell on that guy, but looks like I'm not able to get it out. So boom, a nice shell into the lower plate of the Emil-1. The enemy team has 3 vehicles left. They've got a Chieftain that is hull down there. I don't want to fight that. You'll notice I specifically chose not to fight that. They have a Chimera, which, oh, back up. Yes, we got another ricochet off of that upper plate. Again, saving the day. Now, obviously, I didn't really need to ricochet. We had plenty of hit points, but it's still great just to showcase where that armor does actually work on a Russian light tank. So we've gotten 1 shell into the sky, 2 shells into the sky. We're over 3,000 damage now. There's the K91 getting some pretty nice shots in. Obviously, I knew the K91 would finish him off, so now I'm going to aim in on this Conqueror. Nice shell into his vehicle, but oof, Chieftain gets a tap into me. Obviously, I don't want to be shot, so I'm using that ridiculous 30 kilometers per hour reverse speed. And now I'm going to poke this again, finishing off the enemy Conqueror. Nice tracking shot, and there you go. I mean, this battle was easy as cake. We're reloading 1 more shell out into this Chieftain. And again, sure, the DPM may not be amazing on this vehicle, but these 2 battles showcase that you do not need DPM to get out a fantastic game. Both of these battles were less than 3 minutes. This counter right now in my recording is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I mean, this showcases that you don't need DPM to always do amazing. I did a great job in both of these battles in the LT-432, and it's why I absolutely love playing this tank. It's just a different playstyle compared to every other vehicle. Now, what I will say is, if you ever wonder, when this tank does come to the store, as it is currently available now, I would say that about 10,000 gold is an okay price tag for this tank. Currently, it's about 7 or 15,000, which is not a great deal. I would say maybe hold off because it will come back cheaper. But yeah, 10,000 gold, 8,500 for this Russian light tank is not a bad deal. It's a fun tank, and obviously fun is the #1 priority I have in Blitz. So let me know what you guys think about this vehicle in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed today's in-depth review, and other than that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.